Good evening. Want to talk about the dangers of being house poor. I am also live on YouTube and will be sharing my screen. So I'm live on YouTube and will be sharing my screen. So if you want to see what it is that I'm sharing on my screen, you need to go ahead and visit my YouTube page, which is Jamesia Johnai, the Wealth Creator. But you can stay right here with me. Like the video, love the video, let me know that you can hear me. That there's definitely audio. I have to adjust the volume so that I don't get background noise, and I'm going to go ahead and start sharing my screen. But so I was reading a post today about gentrification and how individuals are being displaced, right? So, in and of itself, gentrification can be considered a great thing because it usually brings resources and basically I'll say it brings resources. Hey, Alita, how you doing? It brings resources to the community, right? Meaning I'm in Chicago for the majority of my life and other people's lives growing up. The west side and south sides of Chicago have been food deserts, meaning we do not have a lot of grocery stores, as opposed to my son gets his haircut in Glen Ellen, and between Glen Ellen, just riding down Roosevelt Road, between Glen Ellen, um, Villa Park, and there may be another suburb, there were there are multiple Pete's Produces, there are all these different grocery stores in those areas on those blocks, but then you have some people in areas where there may not be, access. So you're bringing in, so the post was like, when a Whole Foods comes, when a Starbucks comes, there goes the neighborhood, right? Watch out, here comes gentrification. And then a part of gentrification also includes displacement sometimes. People are displaced, right? So what happens is as property values increase in an area, the rent rates may increase. So you may be in an area of gentrification, you're paying $1,000 a month for rent, and now all of a sudden you're looking at $1,400, $1,500, whatever the case may be. That's just as an example. That amount goes up, and now you're looking for somewhere to move because you cannot afford to live in that community, right? That's speaking from a renter's perspective. I want to also speak from an also one to that. One of my things is that is why it's important to own in a community. It's important to own, but it's also important to be educated and not be house poor, right? So what do I mean by that? The dangers of being house poor, let's say, and I want to use some raw numbers. Shit, I need a calculator. I'm over here custom size. So I'll use some easy numbers that I can use, right? So let's say, for example, just for example purposes, somebody earns $10,000 a month. That's their gross income, right? Well, I won't say nobody. If you are a W-2 worker, taxes are coming out of your check, medical, all of these different things. We don't bring in our gross income, right? I'm using this number because this is going to be easy numbers for me to calculate what I need to do, right? So that means this individual gross on an annual basis $120,000 a year, right? We don't bring our gross home. So let's say this individual has a car note that's $500. They have credit card payments currently on their credit report that are $250. And let's say they have a student loan payment, a monthly payment of $250, right? So the only thing, and it's just messed up my raw numbers. The only thing, reporting on their credit report as far as monthly debt is $1,000, right? I had to make a little bit more money because I need to do easy math the way my mind is set up. We're going to do some easy math today. So let's say they're making $11,000 a month. 11 times 12 months is what? I do 11, 12. I got a 2 right here, a 2 right there, 132,000 a year. So let's say they make 132,000 a year. They bring home $11,000 gross income, right? $11,000 gross income. No, we're gonna stick to the I'm tweaking. We're gonna stick to the 10,000. I'm tripping. We're gonna stick to the 10,000. I apologize. So somebody grosses $10,000 a month. They gross $120,000 a year. Their total debt on their credit report is $1,000, right? So what the mortgage lender is going to do is figure out their DTI or debt to income ratio, right? So if we take, and that is taking total credit report debt. So we're going to take the total credit report debt and we're going to divide that by the monthly gross income, right? So in this case, we are dividing 1,000 by 10,000, and we're going to get 10%, right? So their debt to income ratio is 10%. I make 10,000 a month. I have $1,000 of monthly expenses reporting on my credit report. My debt to income ratio is 10%, right? I go to a lender. I want to purchase a property. The lender's debt to income ratio, including the mortgage, is 36%, right? 36% of 10,000 is $3,600, right? So then I take out that $1,000 that's already on the credit report. I, based on this scenario, can afford, and if there's any mortgage lender out there, correct me if I'm wrong. The basic math someone gave me. I can afford a principal, interest, tax, insurance. I'm gonna throw HOA in there because somebody might decide to get condo. I can afford $2,600 of payment. Principal is my mortgage, interest is my mortgage interest, taxes are whatever the taxes are for that county, municipality, etc. What did I say? Principal, insurance, homeowners insurance, the for home owners association. If somebody decided to get a condo or a townhouse, you have to think about those fees, right? First thing, I started with our gross income of $10,000. Second thing I want to point out, I started, and then we talked about what's reporting on our credit report. So this individual only has $1,000 of debt reporting on their credit report. So based on their debt to income ratio, they can afford a payment, principal, interest, taxes, insurance, HOA, if they decide to get a condo or a townhouse, $2,600 according to the lender, right? That $2,600 a month is indicative of some sort of, what am I trying to say? Approval amount. So it may be if a house is, and let's see, so they get a pre-approval. I'm gonna play with some numbers here. Mortgage calculator. So let's say, let me see what this is gonna do for me. We're looking at a down payment of 3.5% because this individual is going FHA. 30-year loan. It has the interest rate at 2.9. I'm gonna put their credit score between 660 and 679. They're gonna buy in the city of Chicago. So let's say their taxes are $3,000. Let's say they're gonna buy in 60620. I'm familiar with the Auburn Gresham area. Homeowners insurance a month. What's general? Let me say $125. I don't even know. I pay $119, I think, a month. So $125 is pretty fair for homeowners insurance, right? This already had homes at 360,000. Let me bring it down to 250,000 to make this make sense. Bear with me. For those who are with me on YouTube, you can see all of this live. Okay. So now I'm trying to figure out how much home they can afford up to $2,600. $2,600. Playing with numbers over here. Bear with me to make this example make the most sense possible. Okay, we'll stay there. So I put in, I'm using a bank rate calculator. Hold on, 25% down. Okay, we put down 3.5%. Did you leave everything else in there? No, you did not. My property taxes are $3,000. Insurance $125. All right. I didn't think so. I was gonna give some wrong information. With my lovely people. changing my thing. I don't like this mortgage calculator. Hold on now. Let me find another mortgage calculator. Bear with me. Bear with me. Bear with me. Okay. Borrow. Hold on. So if you're just joining, I apologize. You individual makes 10,000 a month. They only show $1,000 reporting on their credit report. So their current debt to income ratio is 10%. They can go up to 26%. So they can afford a payment of $2,600. How much would that pre-approval look like? What would their max taxes be, etc. Right? So that's what I'm working on calculating right now. And I'm not. Going to Nerd Wallet. Me and Bankrate was not getting along. It kept changing. What am I looking? Where are you looking to buy? Mind your business. Now people gonna be reaching out to me thinking I want to buy somebody else and I don't. All right. Is this gonna let me do what I want to do? I don't like none of these calculators. But let's see. Tax is 3,000, not 30,000. 3,000. No homeowners association fees. That's crazy. I quit y'all. I give up. I tried. These calculators are too complicated, and it should not be this complicated. I had access to an app, but I can't find it. But I was basically looking for what would the pre-approval amount be using that data, and I am definitely having a hard time um, figuring that out using these mortgage calculators. I literally put in, I make 120,000, where the individual makes 120,000 and they have $1,000 a month in debt, and it said that they were in too much debt to buy a home. They need to explore other options, which absolutely makes no sense. So let's try this one more time. So there's a reason why we don't want to be house poor. Bear with me. I'm just trying to find a calculator that will work for me. Based on the data I provided. This is crazy. Then I'm gonna have people reaching out to me. Um, Linda with a calculator, real quick. Let me drink my water. Chase says choose a calculator, find out how much home you can afford. Let's do that. Let's try that one. I see why the average person might feel overwhelmed with this process. It should not be that complicated. We're gonna make the interest rate like 3.5% for 30 years. No, that don't make sense. Bear with me. What my down payment is, and I don't know how much home I can afford. Make it make sense, honey. Oh wait, hold on, because this is gonna be perfect. I'm almost there. Bear with me. What are we assuming? Assume that's an ratio. Housing ratio. I have some answers. Sorry about that. Thank you, Chase. Chase saved the day with the calculator. So somebody bringing in 120,000 a year, which translates into $10,000 a month. Their monthly is $1,000. I put that their down payment was going to be $5,000 because I did not know how much they could afford. But it says that they can afford a property that's $366,000, 988 cents. This is an interest rate of 3.5%. I used over the course of 30 years. The taxes I assumed were $3,000, and the homeowner's insurance I assumed $1,400. So it's saying that this individual can afford a home of $366,988, right? So now I'm gonna go back to the other app, but not Nerd Wallet, because they do too much. Nerd Wallet does a little too much. I'm gonna go back to the other app for the mortgage calculator, and we're gonna play with some numbers, and I'm gonna show you why it's important not to be house poor. What do I mean by house poor? So just because I qualify for $200,000, $250,000 doesn't mean that I should buy at the top of the market. And then we're going to talk about how that relates to gentrification, right? So let's say I get a house, $366,000. I'm gonna put down $5,000 for 30 years. We set an interest rate of 3.5% based on what I put in Chase. I'm gonna do some advanced options. I'm going to 60620. My credit score is decent. It's around 660, 679. My property taxes, I'm in the city, they're about $3,000 a year. My home insurance is $1,400 a year. I don't have any HOA fees. Oh, they're asking for monthly taxes. I was like, that don't make sense. So 125 a month. What's 3,000 divided by 12, y'all? Lord help me. 3,600 divided by 12 will be $300. And then I have 600 over the course of 12 months, which would be $50. This is how I do my math. So 300 minus 50 is 250. So 250 times 12 is 3,000. Boom, there you go, right? This is why this was not making sense at first to me. Right. I'm gonna tweak some stuff though, because I want this to make sense. We're gonna put down 3.5%. We gonna make it make sense. I'm gonna make this do what I wanted to. Okay, we're close. So I have a max home purchase price of bam, perfect. So I have a max home purchase price of $395,000, right? So purchase price 300. So my approval. So let me go back. Let me go back for those who are with me on YouTube, and let me make sure everything is still on my whiteboard. Okay. So I reached out to the lender. I made $10,000 a month. I gross $120,000 a year. I have a car note of $500. I have credit card payments of $250, student loan of $250 reporting on my credit report. My total credit report monthly debt is $1,000. My debt to income ratio is 10%. I can go, my threshold is 36%. So that means I can afford a principal, interest, taxes, and insurance payment of $2,600. That translates into I will get a pre-approval for $395,000. So I can buy up to $395,000. Hey, Zakia, how you doing? I can buy, right? I get a pre-approval for $395,000. That $395,000 is based on me putting down 3.5% over 30 years. My interest rate is going to be 3.5%. My credit score is between a 660 and a 679. It adjusted the property taxes for whatever reason to $764 on a monthly basis. I don't know why, but we just gonna roll with that, right? So I go and I buy at the 395,000. Right? I go and I buy at the 395,000. My payment is this $2,600 a month. My payment is $2,600 for my house. I still have this car note and other things that's $1,000 a month, right? So this is $3,600 a month that I'm paying for home, car, student loans, credit card. What have we not taken into consideration? Gas bill, light bill, water bill, car insurance, gas in the car, washing the car, maintenance on the car, barbershop, beauty shop, nail salon, eyebrow person, esthetician, children's tuition, payments, clothing, etc. Saying all of that to say the lender is approving you. Food, thank you, girl. I didn't even feed myself. Thank you, Zakia. The lender is approving you based on your gross income, which you don't bring home unless you're a 1099 or a business owner and you get your money up front. They're approving you based on your gross income and the debt reporting on your credit report, right? Some may or may not, I can't say, sit down with you and say, hey, let's look at your budget. What are your current monthly expenses? So just because your debt to income ratio says, hey, you're pre-approved for this home for $395,000, that doesn't mean that I go out and buy at the top of my market at $395,000. What's going on in 2020 in Chicago? I'm in Chicago, I'm in Cook County. property taxes are going up. What if your property taxes increase? You're already stretched to the limit. So this is how people can be house poor. Yes, the lender said you qualify for up to $395,000. Did you break that down to figure out what the monthly payment is? And then did you compare that to your current budget to figure out, is this what I should buy? Can I afford? Based on your monthly budget, you may be able to buy at your top and have wiggle room, but you may not. So it's important to sit down and do a budget. Mortgage, car note, car insurance, car gas, car maintenance, Zakia, thank you, food, because you want to eat, light bill, gas bill, water bill, cell phone bill, internet bill, Netflix bill, your monthly subscriptions. Do a budget. What do you have left over? Then based on that, you may say, well, I'm pre-approved for $395,000, but I want to look at homes that are $300,000 because I don't want to be house poor. I may buy at the top of my market. Now I'm sitting at home drinking water every day for breakfast, lunch, and dinner because I didn't take into consideration how the hell I was going to eat. So what my post said was, I mentioned this when I spoke as a real estate agent, the expert agent for this community organization, and the individual who is affiliated with the community organization came behind me and said, a lender isn't going to approve you for something that you can't afford. The lender don't know what you can afford. They're giving you affordability. You give them your credit, you give them your social, they do a preliminary, right? They run a report. You give them your social, you tell them how much you make. Based on that, you get a pre-approval. Then it comes out in the wash and the rinse when they ask for taxes, check stubs, different things like that. You may be writing things off on your taxes. You may be reducing your income on your taxes. This happened. The gentleman made $80,000, but after his tax write-offs, he was really only bringing home $40,000. He was deducting everything that he could. That changed his affordability and it made his payment go up. He really did bring home the 80, but on paper, it looked like he only brought in 40. Things had to change. So when you talk to the lender and you get pre-approved, the best thing to do is to send in your tax statements that you have, send in your check stubs and all of your information so that they can see a complete picture of what's going on with your financial situation. Now, once they do that, they're still going to order your tax transcripts from the IRS. There have been times where what somebody provided as far as their tax documents and what the IRS had as far as their tax transcripts differed. And most of the time from the examples that I heard, it was due to the tax professional, not due to the actual individual. They just did not know, right? But the lender is approving you based on your gross income. If you're not a 1099, if you don't have your own business, if you are a W-2 employee and taxes and medical and all of these different things are coming out of your paycheck, you make $120,000 a year, but you don't bring home $10,000 a month. You may only bring home $7,000 a month, but your approval is based on your gross income of the $10,000. Do you understand what I'm saying? So then you have to sit down and do your budget and say, how much home can I afford? How much monthly payment am I comfortable with? And you have to leave wiggle room just in case your insurance or your property taxes increase. If you have a fixed mortgage, a fixed interest rate, Your mortgage payment will never increase. Your interest will never increase. Your property taxes may increase. Your homeowner's insurance may increase. Your homeowners association fees may increase. If something happens and you're in a condo building or a townhouse and there's a special assessment, you need money in reserves for that, right? So these are the things to consider and think about. So tying that into gentrification, what happens sometimes with gentrification, people are stretched to the limit on the property that they purchased, right? And this is not just African Americans. This happens to African Americans, this happens to brown, this happens to white. I think that some people think that gentrification only happens to African Americans. What is going on right now is even non-Black and brown renters in your Lincoln Park and other areas on the north side of Chicago, they can't afford, some cannot afford to buy. So they are moving into your Woodlands and your Bronzevilles and your East Garfield Parks, your West Loop and areas like that. Because they can afford to buy a $500,000 home, they can't necessarily afford to buy an $800,000 million home. So even they're being priced out of their community, quote unquote. Same thing is happening in Wicker Park. There are renters, non-Black, some Black, that are being priced out of Wicker Park as it's going through gentrification. Gentrification is not something that just happens in African American communities. But what happens is, a friend of mine lives in I want to say Noble Square, around Chicago Avenue and Division, around Chicago Avenue and Division. You cannot live around Chicago Avenue and Division, okay? Around Chicago Avenue and Ashland. Around Chicago Avenue and Ashland, and their landlord was, they tried to negotiate their rent. The landlord owned two buildings side by side, right? One was a 4-unit, the other one was about a 6-unit. And they were moving into the 4, which was nicer. They were next door to each other. And they were in the process of negotiating the rent. And the landlord was like, I really can't negotiate the rent because property taxes are increasing, right? So when we decide to buy at the top of our budget and we're house poor, when gentrification happens, and so there are improvements, property value starts to increase. It can be a beautiful thing for some. It could be a tragedy for others. Property value starts to increase. Property taxes starts to increase. Your payment increases, but you were already house poor. Not only that, you may be the type you're not financially responsible. So we started off with a credit card payment of $250, but you went out and financed some new furniture. You got you some new mattresses. Everybody get everything new. I'ma charge it, swipe it up. Now you have an additional debt on your credit report that the lender never took into consideration, that you never took into consideration. All you know is they said, I qualify to purchase this home at $395,000. So I'm gonna go find me a $395,000 house. My goal as a realtor, my goal as an individual that just talks to people, I want to help you buy a home, but I also want to help you keep your home. I want, trust me, if I could make commission on $395,000 compared to the commission on $300,000, I will take the extra money. But I'm going to advise you, and this is not my job, this is not in my job description. Okay, this is your pre-approval amount. Have you sat down and looked at your budget to determine really how much home you can afford? This is information that clients that work with me receive in packets, and we have this conversation. So now when we're going to look at properties based on the asking price, based on the estimated taxes, they're calculating monthly payment. Can you make that monthly payment? Well, yeah, I can make this monthly payment. This is what I've already been paying in rent, etc. Cool. But you have to take that into consideration, right? So I'm gonna go ahead and wrap this up because I want to have a little downtime for myself before my meeting at 8 o'clock tonight. So when you get your approval, main thing to take away, your approval from the lender is based on your gross income. You don't bring your gross income home, you bring home your net income. So it's great that they're letting you know how much home you can potentially afford, but at the same time, you need to sit down and do your budget to figure out what's best for you. Hey, Naisha, channel in here because I also went live on YouTube. So I'll put my YouTube channel because I actually shared my screen and went over the raw numbers and the data. Had a little hiccup in there, but definitely watch the replay because I gave an example, and based on that example, we did some back end calculations and front end calculations as well, right? So you want to do your own budget. You may say, based on my budget, the max that I want to pay for principal, interest, taxes, and insurance is $1,500 a month. Whereas your approval says, based on your approval, average taxes, etc., it may say you're approved for up to $2,100 a month. So now we need to bring that down. So I may be approved for $250,000, but I say, you know what? Using myself. I say, okay, Mr. Realtor, Miss Realtor, Jamesia Johnai, I'm pre-approved for $250,000, but I don't want to spend more than $200,000. These are the areas that I'm looking in, right? Then we're going to look in areas that have homes around your price range. Look at the features of that home. I'm cool with that because I want you to keep your home. Displacement of owners when it comes to gentrification can directly be tied to an increase in property taxes. It can also be tied to individuals that decide to take out a second mortgage or do a refi or do certain things. So now they have two mortgage payments instead of one. And then they find themselves in a bind or a situation the first time there's a medical emergency or some sort of emergency, and they can't make that payment, right? Renters are displaced because rent amounts may rise due to gentrification. Because the thing is, if you're paying, let's say you're paying $600 a month in a community, and I'm just gonna say it, and I buy a house that's $500,000, and my monthly mortgage payment is $4,000. For the most part, my pride in my home that I bought, that I'm paying $4,000 a month plus for, is going to be different than your pride in your apartment that you're paying $600 a month for. I'm not saying across the board, I'm just saying, okay? I don't want to come off as elitist or anything like that. That's not what I'm saying, but think about it, right? That's just like once I bought a new car, I'm not parking my Lexus next to any old kind of car. I park at the end of the parking lot. I will park. I went to, and I go to Dollar Tree, listen. So I'm at Dollar Tree. I didn't even park in the parking lot. There are parking spaces behind the parking lot of the Dollar Tree on Madison Park. I go and park over there by myself, came out pissed because somebody was parked next to my car, right? Family members that drive Porsches and Corvettes, they not parking next to a hoopty. Because you may just throw the door open on your hoopty. You don't care about knitting up my car or nothing like that. Just using it as an example to say, so if I'm paying $4,000 plus a month, I may not want to live next door to people that are only paying $500 a month for rent. Not saying that that makes that person bad or anything of that nature. Not saying that. There are awesome people that don't pay rent, period, right? There are terrible people that pay $10,000 a month to rent, own, or whatever. People are people, but the perception and how I feel about my property value, the upkeep of the property in the community, is that no, right? So rents rise, and then Take this into consideration, sidebar. Rents are not only rising because somebody moved in and they're paying $4,000. No, property values are increasing, which more than likely means that your landlord's property taxes are increasing. And in order to have that cushion that your landlord needs, your landlord has to increase your rent. I've seen landlords. There's a landlord that lost their property in Humboldt Park. I can't say it was because of gentrification. It could have been some mismanagement of funds. A friend of mine, she lives in, it was like a 12 plus unit building. So when property taxes increase, that impacts the landlord, which in turn tells them to increase the rent because they have a bottom line number that they're trying to make as well. And your landlord may be house poor and they bought at the top of their budget, right? So I am Jamesia, wealth creator. I show people how to use other people's money to pay their mortgage, create cash flow, generate generational wealth, and protect their assets. I am a licensed real estate agent in the state of Illinois. I am the go-to agent in the Chicagoland area. If you are thinking about purchasing a home, interested in purchasing a home, a property, investing in the Chicagoland area, let's have a conversation. Would love to be taken into consideration to work with you. My goal is to help 50 individuals and families buy and close in the year 2021 by September 1st, 2021. My contact information should be in the title of this video. My contact information is on my Facebook page. Connect with me. I will drop my YouTube link because I did go live on YouTube, and I also shared my screen when it comes to this video so you can see the raw numbers and the data and how I got to the information that I got to. Like this video, love the video, share the video. Thank you for joining me. I look forward to seeing you all tomorrow for Mindset, Motivation, and Money Making Mondays. I will be going live. Have an awesome, awesome day. Did I press that?